Alright, I'm going to try recording one of these rounds with commentary. I think that'll be better for when I watch it again to see if I agree with uh, some of the yardages and calculations that I choose in the video. So, and it also will, if anyone else watches it, uh, I'm kind of curious and interested to see what they would have done differently. So, this is, I guess this is the Olympic back 9 ready go. I think it's 100 credit ready go. So, obviously not much to really discuss or talk about on the drive here. Pretty straightforward. So this new wind system, it says I got pretty much a direct headwind here, a 12 to 14. So I just round it to 13. I think is probably the best idea. So from 141, it says -3, but I think calling it 141 is safe. It might move slightly left to right, so I'm going to aim just slightly to the left of the hole, maybe just a couple, 2 or 3 yards, something like that. And I would add about 9 to 10 yards to this, so this would actually be 151. I'm going to use just over half backspin, and that should be right around 95% 7 iron. So let's hope we can hit the ding. 95% there. Missed the ding slightly to the left, but not enough to cause a huge issue. So distance-wise, it was pretty close, within a yard. Directionally, we were off a couple of yards there. So, but not bad overall in terms of. Mostly, I'm interested in the distance. Don't worry so much about the directional stuff. So this pot looks pretty makeable. I don't really have much of a putting system to share. It's just mostly experience, I guess. So I always do use the chip mode though. I would say left edge should be good. We're on tournament greens, so I would play this as about a 9.5 foot putt. So. Same thing on this drive, not really much to say about it. That last hole, if I'd have missed to the right, it would have been much worse than missing to the left. Would have been a downhill putt. A little bit tricky, been there a lot of times. So here we've got pretty much an identical shot to the last one. 142 yards, maybe not quite as direct of a headwind. So the last one I was off by about a yard. So this one I'm going to assume 9. I'm going to add 9 yards to this and say 151, plus the elevation is a little higher this time. So we'll call this 153. I think is fair, and it should move a little bit to the right. So I'm going to go about there. So what did I say? 153. So same spin, I think should do fine. And this time I'm going to go. This time I'm going to go about 96 or 97%. I think right there should. Let's see what we get this time. again, off by distance-wise only a yard, so it's going to be hard to, can't really complain about that too much. Looks pretty straight. I don't think it's really necessary to check in chip mode, but you never know. Pretty simple pot. Certainly have missed them in the past, but and again, this drive pretty straightforward. Although some drives at Olympic are a little tricky. Easy to hit the trees on some of them. So this time, I would call this a 14 mile an hour, pretty much dead headwind. We got a little elevation here, so for the headwind, the 14 from this distance, my calculation, I just go about 80% of whatever the wind is from this distance, so I would add 11, or we'll call it 12. 11 or 12. So we'll go with 11, I guess, since it was 11.2. So that would be 175, and then the 14 downhill divided by 3.75. So 175, about 172, 171, something like that. So we might move slightly to the right, just a hair. I'm going to use the exact same spin again. I don't see a reason to change. So 170, 171 should be pretty much a full 6 iron, maybe just like 99% or so. So we'll try 99. Missed the ding again slightly to the left, but wasn't a massive miss. And the result is pretty good. I've never actually done this before. I've made videos with commentary, but never for golf. So this is, we'll call this, I guess what it's playing, 188, 189. I don't really have a wind system either, which I think is probably a bit of a flaw in my game. I know Lizard and some other guys have a wind ruler they use for side winds, but I don't have anything. I just go by pretty much experience, and a lot of times I'm very, very wrong, especially in winds I'm not used to. So we'll call this one a 9 mile an hour side wind, crosswind. Somewhere there should be good, and if you land slightly right of the flag, it's okay, because it'll drift down and leave an uphill putt. So, going to be a 5 iron. I'm going to use about half backspin, and this should go about 194. So we want to go 6 yards less. So I'm going to go almost 98%, probably 97. So somewhere in there. Let's see what that gets us. So again, distance-wise, it was spot on, but directionally, it was not so good. I think maybe having some sort of a wind system would be pretty helpful for these crosswinds. This putt, I've actually had this putt quite many times. Not real difficult, but missable. Uphill 3 inches. I think just outside the left edge should be good. And so this one I would 11 plus 3, but I'd actually do 11 plus 5. So I would say this is 16 feet, which is about 25% on the 50 scale. I don't think the headwind's strong enough to really worry too much about it. And missed the ding a little bit to the left, but I think I played, maybe that was a little straighter than I thought, but so not the best tee shot in the world, but definitely good enough. It was an easy enough putt as to where you gotta be getting birdie there pretty much always. So that was a bit of a blunder. 12 crosswind here. I think there should be okay. Missed the ding to the left. I don't know if there are trees there. I've hit a few times along that left rough, but got away with it that time. So from this distance, 93 yards, I would do, I think I would actually call this one, since it's not direct, it's quite direct actually. So, I guess I would call it 12. So I'd do 12 times 35% from this distance. That gets us about 4 yards. And then we got the uphill, 15 divided by 3.9. Another 4, so 8. So this is actually 101, which should be 98% with this wedge. So I don't mind even going a little bit more because it might jump back, especially given that it's a headwind. So we'll go there. See what happens. Wow, I didn't see, definitely didn't see the wind. I aimed maybe a yard and a half left of the hole. I didn't really see the crosswind being that strong, but you definitely don't want to miss right here. It's definitely better to miss left. But, I didn't see it moving that much. Maybe should have, since it's so much better to miss left than right, maybe I should have overcompensated a hair, just to make sure I don't end up right. Still not the hardest putt in the world though. So I would say about there should do it. And play it as if it was 4.2 or 4.1. Had the distance again was pretty much right on. Tailwinds. I have a lot of trouble with tailwinds. Not so much with low to medium ones like this, but when it gets up in the anything over like 13, I find not to be very consistent. That should do, I think, for the little left to right. So 149, a little bit uphill, 153, 152, minus 4, we'll call this probably more like a 7 or a 6 mile an hour tailwind, so it's probably playing very close to what it says, the 149, so I think 8 iron should actually be plenty. I think an 8 iron with half backspin should be like about a yard short, but with the tailwind it could go 3 yards long for all I know. So this should be 147, 148. So we'll see what we get. And I try consciously to never miss a ding with the wind if I can. But so I was expecting that to be. I was actually expecting that to be either bang on or maybe a yard short, and it's 3 yards long. So obviously, my my wind calculation is for tailwinds is no good. But I've tried it just about everything, and I don't don't seem to get the same result twice very often, so a 3-yard deviation, I guess we just have to make some putts. Still, again, not a terribly difficult putt here. I think somewhere there should do it. It is -3, which means it could break a little bit more than I think. I'll try there. So 7 on tournament greens. I would go just under 7, so about there. On to the par 5s now, so we get back-to-back par 5s. This one's really long. And the trees, I don't know really how much of an effect. I think I'm going to go there and just try to miss the ding. Slightly left, possibly. Really don't want to hit the trees. I think with the headwind I shouldn't be able to make the rough anyway, so should be okay. But with a left to right wind there, it's kind of tricky, because especially if it's like a left to right slight tailwind, because you can drive it through to the rough there. So here, pretty obvious, just a layup. Be a fairly long approach, I believe, given it's a headwind, or long for par 5 anyway. So 153, like 155 with the elevation, and a 10-mile-an-hour headwind, slightly right to left, barely right to left. So for this one, I would say I would add 6 to 7 yards to that. So this should be around 161 to 162 or so. So 7-iron, I'm not sure I can make it, but I might get a little bit of release if I don't use much spin. So if I just do a couple pixels of spin somewhere in there, I actually might make it anyway. It might actually go 162. We'll try this. And it really even, I missed it on the wind side, which is bad. It's probably going to be way left, but we were missing the dang strange things. With the wind, strange things can happen distance-wise, I find, as well, but that was about 2 yards long. So 2 yards long, and I missed with the wind, so never going to be a good result. So we got not the easiest pitch to hole, but definitely not the hardest either. Not really a strong enough wind from this distance to worry about. I think somewhere there should do it, and we use almost full back spin. It's uphill slightly, so yeah. I like to miss with the break. So there, I missed a little bit. I was a little bit early on the ding. I find the result is much better to missing into the break as opposed to with it. The same as missing with the wind is worse than missing into the wind. So this fairway actually slopes pretty hard left to right, so I don't think I've ever missed this fairway left before. Definitely missed it right though. This distance with this tailwind is really, really tricky for me. 202, probably like 213 with the elevation. tailwind of direct tailwind of 13. So in my experience, this could have no effect or hardly any effect, maybe a few yards, or it could have a massive effect right up to the whole whole 13-yard wind. So it could actually be anywhere from, in my experience, anywhere from like 4 to 13 yards difference. So I'm gonna go right in the middle and say like 206 or so. And obviously I don't want to land to the hole. I want to land short. So 191. So 201 might. Probably at 195 or so. 195, 196, something like that. So that should be a 4-iron. And there's really no crosswind to worry about. So it should be a 4-iron. I'm going to use full backspin. Well, I think with the tailwind I will. And it should be about a 98, 97, 98% 4-iron. Missed the ding again, just a hair, but that's about where I wanted to land, was just in that fringe of rough just in front of the green. I find if you land on the green here, you end up rolling, especially with a tailwind, you end up rolling up above the hole, which is kind of a disaster to go long. So we got a pretty good look at an eagle putt here. Fairly straight, might go a little bit to the right. I guess it's actually the left, but it's the right from this view. So I'm gonna, I think right edge should be good. I'll just go past the hole to make sure it's not not another inch uphill. So I would say there should do it. So this is actually 19 feet. 12 plus 5 and then another 2, so 12 plus 7. Should be about there. I missed the ding a little bit to the left, which you can't miss with the break. You always want to miss, or on some putts you can, but definitely not. They're somewhat rare. I think missing. Pretty much always want to miss into it. So if I'd have missed the other side by the same margin, I think I would have probably made it. Should have thought about that at the last second and made sure I didn't miss early, but this hole's pretty simple. Mostly the drive, and even driving it into the rough's not the end of the world, but I think somewhere there. That's just in the rough. Still only 31 yards though, so it shouldn't be a total disaster. For these short ones, I do I divide by 13 divided by I divide by 3.9, so it's about 34 yards, and we get a slight crosswind here, so I'm just going to use full shot with just about full backspin also. Try to land at 33 if I can, which should be about 76, 77% from this lie. I'll try there and see what we get. Well, the wind moved it quite a bit more than I almost double of what I actually So not much to say about this putt. So yeah, that's it. Could have been a really good round. Could have actually been a -10 had we putted a little better, but and I guess we missed that green on the par five with a missed ding. And I don't know if it was because I missed a ding with the wind why it went a couple yards long, or if it's my calculation. But yeah, that's how I do it. Be very curious to see if someone has a better system. So I might do another one of these in the future. I don't know how helpful they'll be, but I guess we'll see.